I'll just go through the chords just once and then I'll start.
Sure. So the verse, A minor,
Yes.
C, G, A minor, and the chorus starts with C, G,
Day 2. This was our first full-day ride. We were to cover about 32 miles. Most of this ride was inland, following what is known as the Park Loop Road. Along this route, we were on regular roadways and had to deal with two-way auto traffic. So, from the back of our line, riders called out, "Car!" warning everyone a car or cars were approaching us from behind. Thankfully, it became obvious, at least to me, drivers in this area were accustomed to dealing with bike riders and took care when they passed our string of riders. For those of us who are unaccustomed to riding on regular streets, this was another great relief. Trying to pull over as far as possible to the right without going onto the rough emergency parking lane was challenging for those of us, well, me, who were not experienced riders. Special word of thanks to the experienced and courteous Maine auto drivers. Eventually, we found our way back to the Carriage Road, and we crossed several of the stone bridges. Thanks to the GPS app, we were able to stop and explore under some of the bridges, parked our bikes, and climbed down the hillside where we could appreciate the workmanship that went into building the arches and curved bridges that did follow the landscape. Traveling on, we stopped at Sand Beach. We walked along the beach, soaking up sunshine and taking in the picture book view. Once on the road again, we worked our way along Eagle Lake, Jordon Pond, and arrived at the Jordon Pond House. We parked our bikes and made use of the Jordon Pond House facilities. Originally built in 1847, it became a restaurant in the 1870s, known for serving tea and popovers. The original structure burned in 1979. Rebuilt in 1982, it resumed serving traditional tea and popovers, a tradition that continues to the present day. As part of the tour, we were treated to tea, popovers, along with several other dishes, and the majestic panoramic scenery that engulfs Jordon Pond. Jordon Pond House proved to be a gastronomic and natural wonder to behold. Wandering among the gardens of Jordon Pond House, we found the small wildlife to be particularly active. Well worth a stop. After lunch, we had time to follow a walking trail around the grounds. Jordon Pond stretched out in front of us. What a great view. Pink turtle-headed flowers covered part of the garden. Industrious bees made the most of these beautiful blooms, buzzing in and out of the blossoms and collecting copious amounts of pollen to take back to their hives. Before leaving, some of the riders made a pit stop at the well-stocked gift shop. Then it was back to the bikes for our afternoon ride back to Bar Harbor. As we rode out of the parking lot, we met up with a horse-drawn carriage passing through the Carriage Road stone gate. They were heading toward the Jordon Pond House and Wildwood Stables. This confirmed the express usage of the Carriage Road. We experienced everything Rockefeller Jr. envisioned. We encountered several other cyclists. We waved to many hikers, walkers, and along with the occasional horse-drawn carriage. When we exited the Carriage Road back onto the paved road, our guide stopped the group. They gave us the choice of riding back to Bar Harbor or taking the day mountain loop to the top of Cadillac Mountain. I knew this choice was coming, and I had already made up my mind to head back to Bar Harbor, and my wife, Jan, had told the guides she wanted to ride up the mountain. When the question came around to me, it was my personal crunch time, my own agonizing moment of truth. Jan was committed to making the trip. I couldn't stop myself. My male ego kicked in, and the words just came out of my mouth. Okay, I'll go. So up the mountain we went. Only a handful of us took the challenge of riding on the paved road with two-way traffic all the way to the top. Cadillac Mountain is the highest point on the U.S. East Coast. At daybreak, the top of Cadillac Mountain is the first place in the U.S. to see the sunrise. Renewed French interest in the area brought Antoine Lamont to Mount Desert. He christened himself, I'm not going to get this right, Sieur de la Mont Cadillac. With his new title, he asked the French crown for, and in 1688 he received 100,000 acres, including Mount Desert Island. A year later, the first of his 13 children were born. However, his dream of creating a feudal estate never materialized. He and his wife, Marie-Therese, abandoned his ambitious plan and eventually moved on to Michigan, where he founded the city of Detroit. His legacy in Maine remains the 1,530-foot Cadillac Mountain. Native Americans, the Wabanaki people, made up of 4 tribes known as the People of the Dawnland, have lived on Mount Desert Island for over 10,000 years. They call it Pemetic, the sloping land. It was an appropriate name, for around every curve on the mountain ride was another climb. We had electric bikes, and I made serious use of mine. Our guide, leader, Cynthia, kept us in line, encouraging us all the way to the top. By the time I crested Cadillac Mountain, I had 1 single bar left on my battery. My legs were a little wobbly, but what a view. Even though my battery was low, the ride back was going to be all downhill. Without any electric assist, I got up to 33 miles per hour. Not a good idea. I could faintly hear a voice behind me yelling, "Slow down! Slow down!" No way. I was coasting all the way back to the VBT tent. I cruised into the tent with a smile on my face and 1 bar of battery power still glowing on my dashboard.